I've had people come up to me, like, they point at the future. I like them, but I didn't like you. And I'm like,
But
you didn't have to do it like that.
This is right here, Forrest Shaw. Forrest, give your breakdown.
Where am I looking? Oh, here we go.
This is your camera.
Camera.
Give a breakdown who you are and what you do.
Oh my gosh.
It's like your resume. Give me
I'm Forrest Shaw. I'm a comedian. I'm a writer. I'd like to do more voiceover work if anyone's out there wants to hire me. I do some, but you know, former Uber driver.
That's what's amazing, man. That's what I love about this story. There was a group of Uber drivers. What year was this? 2000 what?
13, I think. 2014, so 2013. Yeah.
You just moved here from where?
Miami, Florida. That's where I was born and raised.
What was the goal? Because some people say, I want to be in movies. I want to do this. What was your goal of moving to LA?
I mean, I lived in Miami, and Miami there's only so much you can do with stand-up comedy. So even just from the stand-up comedy standpoint, I wanted to do better. I wanted to get on late night television. I wanted to up my status in the stand-up world. So instead of middling and headlining like C rooms, I was doing better rooms. I wanted to write on television shows. That was my main thing, writing and like getting on television for stand-up, you know. And I could either move to New York or LA, but I'm from Miami. I went to school in upstate New York. I don't need that weather.
Yeah.
I don't need to live in an apartment with 7 dudes and a railroad style thing. Like, as this wasn't for me because I was older, you know. And so I chose to move. And I had a lot of friends in LA too. Specifically Jim Jefferies is a good friend of mine who I knew.
You met Jim Jefferies in Miami?
Yeah.
And so how'd that happen?
Yeah, so you know what's funny is like he's from Australia, but he really got big in England. And when he got here, I remember specifically seeing his name at all these clubs, Jim Jefferies. I'm like, that was Jim Jefferies. You know, like in your head, you're like, who's this guy? Why is he getting all this? The whole circuit. And I'm like, man, he just showed up all of a sudden. And then one day I get a call from Al Jackson. You know Al Jackson?
Yes, absolutely.
Good friend of mine. He started in Miami as well, comedy. And he calls me up. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm doing warm up for this guy named Jim Jefferies for an HBO special. I'm like, yeah, who the fuck's that guy? Like, how did he just show up and now he's an HBO special? And I was like, I don't know, man. You know, like in between the two, you know, they shoot 2 at one time. You know, He calls me in between. He goes, yeah, this guy's really fucking good. Like he's like really good. I go, he is? Yeah. I go, oh, okay, well, that's good. And I wasn't like mad that somebody got something I didn't, but I was just like, who is he? Like, you know?
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I'm working with him at the Miami Improv. And I'm like, hey, you were just my buddy Al Jackson. Yeah, we hang out. That was when he was drinking. We get along really well. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, I'll ask to use you next time and come down or something like that. So, oh, cool. Like 2 weeks after that, I'm at another club, just randomly. In Tampa, I think. In Florida. He's on Florida.
Oh, so when he was in Florida, he reached out to you.
No, but this was random. 2 weeks later, randomly again, we're hooked up at a club. He goes, oh, it's you. I'm like, hey, what's up? Cool. All right, we'll see you down the line, whatever. The next week, I'm at Captain Brian's with him. Like, it literally just was linked, not just by coincidence. And he's like, yeah, man, I guess I don't have to, you know, whatever. Like, we just spent so much time within like a month period that he was just all of a sudden like, yeah, I guess we're friends now. Yeah, but we got along really well.
Friendship
We got along really well. And then he had just started graduating to small theaters and stuff. And he would call me up. And then someone told me on a podcast, Jim just mentioned you. He says, blah, blah, blah. And then when I go out to LA, I'd stay with him in his house. And we just got along, you know? And that's like a big part of comedy is like, you want to work with people because I've worked with you before.
Yeah, 100%.
And you know, when you're on the road, you want to be with someone that's not.
You know what it is? Yeah. You just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And I've noticed, and when you headline, it's the same thing. If you ever bring somebody, you just want to be comfortable that knowing like, yo, this is a person I can hang out with because like people often wonder, like I used to wonder like why comics get so depressed, you know, because you go through this crazy high of a show and then a low.
Yeah.
Then you have to get back up for the second show and then a low. And you're feeling great in that room, but as soon as you leave, you're in a hotel by yourself.
Yeah.
So a lot of comics, there's 2 ways you can do this. A lot of comics want to drink because they're like, all right, well, I need to do something. And some do drugs, but me, I've always been the go back to the hotel type of dude for me. And, or just, I remember going out with Orlando Leyba, who you knew, Nick Garrett. And after the shows, we would talk hours about comedy.
Yeah.
But you need somebody that's comfortable like that.
And also that's looking out for you.
Yes.
Like, not like looking out, like, but I make jokes about mental health all the time on stage, but like, because I want to talk about it. But there's been a lot of times with Jim specifically, we've been on the road and one or me or him will check each other almost like, you okay? Are you good? Or, hey, yo, what's up? Like, why are you being like, and you need that too. But also it's really the hang. I think with Jim a lot is like, we like the same foods too. Like, that's like,
okay. What's your go-to food?
No, I just mean like we have a palate similar because he really likes to go like really nice restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he wants to go with someone that enjoys it. And like he has other friends that he'll take them there and they're just like, yeah, it's pretty good, but it's so expensive. Like, and you're like, he's like, just eat it. Like,
right.
And I'm like, I'm like, we're in this amazing restaurant. I would probably never be able to afford whatever. But so just on the road, I don't have a go-to. I'm a garbage can, man. Look at me.
I also think a lot of times, and this was interesting, and I don't want to sound like the old comic because I've only been doing it 12 years.
Yeah.
But I've always been like when Joe took me out, anybody that took me out, we kind of over appreciate where it's almost like, are they being truthful? But yeah we are. Because like Orlando, I call us the over appreciators because we will remind you over and over how much we appreciate what you're doing. Where on the opposite end, there's some comics you take and it's kind of like, nah.
Yeah.
You know, they don't, I mean, they appreciate it, but they don't show it. They don't say, you know.
And you want the middle ground is what you want.
Yeah, you want the middle.
Because you don't want, if you're very effusive, people are like, all right, settle down. But if you don't say anything, they're like, I mean, I don't really need it, but I mean, just say like,
well, I just think it's etiquette.
And honestly, if you're a headliner, like this is what I was taught by Nick Griffin, who's you've
I love Nick Griffin.
He was the first guy to take me on the road, really like around the country and stuff. I had other people took me for some road gigs, but he like introduced me all these A rooms and all these clubs, and he's one of the funniest guys in the world. Yeah, he has a new special out, by the way. So, and I remember he would like take me out to like eat lunch or dinner or whatever, and he'd always pay for it. And
I do that too.
Yeah, and I'd be like, no, and he goes, this is what you do when you headline. You got to take the I was like, okay, that's what you do.
And that's what it is, because when you're headlining, you make a lot more money than your feature.
Yeah.
Like 10 times sometimes, or 100 times, or 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know, it depends what level you're at.
Yeah, and then they're like hawking a CD, like, please. Like,
it's almost like the college athletes. Yeah, you know, the university is the headliner. The college athlete can't even get McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so what I've started doing, and this is the big trend right now, I've started taking camera people instead of features, and I use local features.
Yeah.
So I always make sure I break off the local features some extra cash. I try to.
It goes a long way too, because people remember that. And a lot of times you'll see like somebody that featured or hosted for you and stuff, and like, oh, they're doing good, and they're like, that fucking guy then.
Yeah.
We went to a Denny's and they didn't even like pick up at a Grand Slam, and they're like, because it's not even, I'm not talking about Michelin star restaurants, just like, hey, we're gonna go get a burger.
Yeah,
we're gonna, you know, and I think it's like one of those unwritten rules of like comedy and stuff. But
but I love your story because you, Orlando, and Jimmy O Yang, who's huge right now, massive right now, all were Uber drivers at the same time, and y'all kind of had there was a
lot of comics, but those were the two guys that I remember.
Those are the three I know. You, Jimmy O Yang, and Orlando.
I was living with Orlando at the time then, so I knew Orlando's plight as an Uber driver. And if you got into an Uber with Orlando Lave at some point, I'm sorry. I'll apologize for him, because
why is he not a good driver?
His driving's fine. It's a little passive, I'd say. He's gotten better. Yeah. And his wife would back me up on this. Vanessa would back me up. Like, we both would be like, what do you know? But more importantly, he would get lost. Even with the GPS, he'd get lost. And then I think people would start yelling at him, you know, like
and then get nervous.
Orlando's such a nice guy. And he tries to stay positive. He has a tuning fork, like, you know, like to get the right frequencies going. So, and if someone's just yelling at him from the backseat, I don't think he was handling that well. Like, nobody should handle it well, but I would be like, okay, I can just. And I just don't think it was for him, you know. But Jimmy O Yang, I met him. He was like probably the first guy that I didn't know that I met that I became friends with in LA. You know, like I knew a lot of people when I moved there. But
is that because of Uber? Y'all became friends?
No, we went to the Big Sky Comedy Festival in Billings, Montana. It's a very small. It's like 28 comics.
Who's the guy that
Lucas Seeley?
Oh, Lucas is
and
such
Augie
a great
Smith. Yeah,
such a great guy.
Yeah.
Such a great guy.
Yeah, I love Lucas. And the festival was amazing because it's I think it was 28 comics, either like 26 or 28 comics, so not a lot. And there was 6 or 8 industry people. That was it. Like, so there wasn't like a big fanfare as far as like media and this and that. So it was fun that you'd show up and then, all right, today's activity, it was like camp. Today's activity is we're gonna go do laser tag or we're gonna ride horses.
And didn't Lucas like bring people to his house because his mom would cook and stuff like that?
She made these egg rolls. No, when we went there was like a street fair and she had a stand when we did it. But then there was another restaurant and it was Asian. I think it was their family. Their family just runs
that town.
Yeah, all those restaurants that, and so it was super fun, that festival. And I met Jimmy there, and I got along with him. I met at the time a lot of the industry people that were there. You get close with them.
So because there's not many.
Yeah, so it was great. And so Jimmy and I just became friends from there. And then after that, we were both driving Uber and like we'd meet up and have lunch. And then I'd be like, "What are you up to?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm about to go." Because I'm going to do this club like in, I don't know, Ohio. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to this club in Arkansas, whatever." Then like a couple months would go by. "What are you doing?" I'd be like, "I'm going to this club, in Florida or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I think I might start shooting this movie with Melissa McCarthy." And then the next one was like
Silicon Valley.
Yeah, maybe at Silicon Valley. Now I'm a regular. I was like, "Why are you driving Uber?" And he's not anymore. But I'm just telling you, like, it just goes to show you, it's like I think people think like that, that everyone's just like handed stuff, and it's like, look, I was already an established comic when I got to LA, but you get to LA and you're back into the big pond again.
But you know what? Like Jimmy O Yang, he took off in clubs and comedy. But I mean, you teamed up with Jim and you've been writing some, like you wrote on his own TV show. You've done a lot of things people could be like envious of too.
No, I'm very, I say it all the time. If tomorrow someone's like, "You got to stop being a comic and I would look back and be like, I accomplished a lot. I did, and not even comparing myself to other people. I just accomplished a lot. Like I did Conan. I did other like television shows that I was on, I wrote on Jim's show. I've written on other shows. I just, I headline clubs now. Like that was like one of my goals. So it's just like, it's funny. Cause one time I'm not trying to name drop the whole time, but I also, another person that helped me along was Bill Burr that I met years ago before he blew up. And then when I moved to LA, literally he was like, "Come out, I'm doing a gig." And I would go out with him. This is right when he was like, and then he was just like, "This guy's funny, book him." And literally that's all it took. People are like, "All right, what's your name?" And like, "We got to book you now." Cause Bill,
yeah.
And I've done gigs with him recently and stuff. I did like a thing in Orlando. It was like 18,000 people and at this arena. And I've done gigs as big with Jim too. But for the person's story, I was in Orlando, in Florida, where I'm from. I had friends come out and they go, "Man, that was great show." And they're like, "When are we going to see you like headlining this arena?" And I go, "Probably never." I don't know. And they go, "With that attitude, no." And I go, "What? But even what I did is cool. Like you're not even like."
Yeah, you got to appreciate the small moments, but also, like for me, like I've seen people. Look, we live in Vegas.
Yeah,
I've seen comics that kind of given up and they got their 15 minutes and this is what they do. Like I always said to myself, I don't think I ever could be that person. I could be 80, and if I'm not doing big arenas, I'd be like, I'm getting there. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I mean, I'm not gonna not try.
Yeah,
but the whole thing where I'm just like,
you got to appreciate that moment.
But also, I was like, but I just was there performing. I did 20 minutes in front. Like I was there. Like they didn't just pick me out of the audience. Like, "Oh, we'll just get like we'll give this guy a shot." Like I earned the right to be there. Like it wasn't a pity thing, And so, and they were like, "Yeah, I guess so." I was like, "Yeah, no, for real. I got paid for that." I was like, so it's just so funny, like people's perception of that too, And even the Conan thing is like, I think people, I don't know how, like that was like a whole weird thing how I got that. I don't know if I've ever told you that before.
How'd you get Conan?
So I was one of the times I was visiting LA and I was staying with Jim, and Jim's like, "I'm going to go do a panel on Conan for the first time." He didn't do stand up. He did doing panel. We sit down there and "Can I go with you?" He goes, "Yeah." So JP Buck was the booker of Conan for stand up. And I knew his name, didn't know him. And I go there and he comes in, he starts talking to Jim, and I'm like, "Oh, that's JP Buck." So then he keeps looking at me and he goes, "Man, you look really familiar." And I go, "Nah, I know you are, but I don't think you know me. I've never submitted anything, whatever." So Jim's going to do hair and makeup, all that stuff. So this is my opportunity. I'm going to start talking to him and make sure he remembers me. And they had the The horny manatee, yeah, it's the segment with that, yeah. And I worked with manatees, used to work with them.
Oh, because people don't know you're marine. Yeah.
So I started talking about marine biology and manatees and stuff. And I was like, when I send the email, I'm gonna be, I was a manatee, and this is my whole plan. And he keeps saying, like, you look so familiar. I'm like, nah, I don't think you know me, whatever. So then I look up real quick on LinkedIn just to find out some information about him. He went to Cornell University. I went to Ithaca College, which is separate hills, same town, but you look across each other from the hills. And I worked at a well-known bar in the college town of Cornell. I'm like, he knows me from Rulof's, where I worked at this bar. So I type in the thing. I was like, hey, by the way, I think you probably know me because I would work the door sometimes at Rulof's. He writes me back, I swear to God, in 5 seconds. He goes, yeah, I worked there with you. I used to work there. And I go, oh shit, he was a bar back, like JP, because my girlfriend was a bartender. And then it all came together. And he goes, that's where I knew you from. I just couldn't put it together till now. And he goes, send me in your clip. We'll start talking about it. It still took me like probably about 9 months of going back and forth. This is, the jokes how we're gonna hone them, whatever. But I did it without a manager just because I worked with him in college randomly, and it was like,
I'm glad you said that, because I remember I was getting very frustrated because people, this is probably like 8-9 years ago, people were getting specials. And as a comic, you feel like, oh, I'm to their level. Yeah. Why am I not getting the same opportunity? And then my agent said the smartest thing, and I live by it now. And this was kind of keeps me grounded. First of all, that's not your race. Yeah. Keep blinders on, just focus on your own race. Yeah. Second thing was, you don't know their story with that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of comedians that have been in comedy a long, long time got upset because they saw you on Conan, because they were like, yo.
I just moved to LA.
You just moved to LA.
I'd been there less than a year, and they're like, what?
You see what I mean? Yeah, so that was his main thing, was you don't know other people's stories. You don't know who they know.
Yeah.
And it's really, when it comes down to it, and I'm really bad at this, it's about networking, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's about networking. And I've always felt that, talent will get you to where, but people need to know your talent. Because if they never see, it's both. If they never see you, then they don't know your talent.
The same thing with writing on Jim's show. I've already was opening for Jim. I was friends with Jim. I'd known Jim a long time. His Comedy Central show comes around, and I was able to write on it. And I didn't write on the first season. I worked in the digital department. I wrote on the last 50 episodes of it. But when the show came around, he's like, I'd never written on anything. And he couldn't just be like, I think people are like, this is my friend and he's writing. I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you don't get to just dictate whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I tried to make my own way. And I just said, Jim, is it cool if I come by when you guys are doing the pilot? Just like see what's going on and hang out. I just wanted to like learn. So I knew a couple of the writers that were on the pilot, and I didn't know anyone else, but I met the showrunner. I met
Jacqueline Marfuji's husband, right?
Tommy Caprio. Came to the show the other night.
Jacqueline's about to come.
And the showrunner, Scott Zabilski, who I didn't know, and I met a couple of other producers. And I would just go by there. I'd have lunch with Jim. Sometimes I'd have lunch with them. I'd hang out. I end up getting a little bit part on the pilot as this character. They were like, "Hey, because I was just there.
Yeah,
like Forrest should do that part." And I was like, this guy Dale that was supposedly racist, but it was like a turn, and the other guy was racist. I moved away, and it was the showrunner that was supposedly racist. Because I looked like a hillbilly is what they meant. So I got that part, and then I was doing warm up for all the run throughs for the pilot, and then the Comedy Central execs that were working the show with saw me, and one of them took like a liking to me, like my stand up, and he goes, "Yeah, I really was a champion of me, when the show gets made, they're like, look, we can't offer you a writing job, but you can be in the digital department. You can write copy for Twitter, Facebook, blah, blah, blah. We want to do digital things. You can sit in the writer's room as much as you want to, so you can absorb stuff. And when you're done, and I did, and I learned how the television show was made, because I got to walk around the whole
it's such a different
and everything.
It's such a different game. Like I know a lot of comedians that are writers on TV shows.
Yeah.
They go, yeah, if you're funny, you can write on a TV show, but it's a totally different skill.
No, and there's like software and stuff that you don't even know. And I mean, and just that was a sociological, political kind of different. And when the first or second season came, I guess I'd shown enough stuff in the digital department, but also like had networked enough with people at Comedy Central, the producers on the show, the writers in the room and stuff, to where when I transitioned in there, to my knowledge, I don't think anybody on the show was like upset. Like, that's Jim's guy.
Yeah, because they saw you hustle.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. What's interesting is I remember when I broke into stand up, I came from the TV side. I was on Chelsea Lately and I was on, that show was massive. So I kind of catapulted into stand up, and Chelsea gave me the best piece of advice. She goes, you're going to get in clubs. She said, you're going to get time because you're on this show. Just make sure you work your ass off. Don't be that dude that shows up.
Yeah.
that's on TV, and then you bomb.
Yeah.
You know, because that's disrespectful to me and the show and everything.
Yeah.
So I've always been that dude where it's like, yo, if I'm going to go for this, I'm going to go for it tough. But you have to prove yourself, and you prove yourself on that show.
Yeah, from the moment I met you, though, you've always been that guy where you were always like, how do I get better at this? How do I do this?
I'm still
I had a lunch with you at the South Beach Comedy Festival years ago. I don't remember, like, and you were just like, you were like motivating me. I was like, God, this guy's. But you were like asking me questions about comedy. I was like, oh yeah, this, that, whatever. And you're like, what about? And you've always been that guy where you're always trying to better yourself in everything, I'm sure. But like for comedy specifically, you're always like working really hard. And I've seen that too, like over the years where it just like, I'll see you not for a year, then a 2 year, and then it's just like, man, Michael's just getting better and better and better.
I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I'm so passionate about people that do stand up, because I think it's the hardest skill in the world. I think there's only a few, if you really break it down to how many people actually make it, it's like 0.1%.
Yeah.
And maybe even more, less than that. You know what I mean?
Like a living. Yeah. There's a lot of people that do stand up, but making like you're paying all your bills.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I just love it though. And I love watching an audience grow. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you go to a club one year, like for instance, just a little example. Last year I did La Jolla Comedy Store. Only sold out one show. I sold 535 tickets, which is solid, right?
Yeah.
The special came out. I haven't been there since the special. My socials kind of got bigger. Last time I was there, I sold out all 4 shows, and they said we could add it like 1 or 2 more. And it went to 800 tickets. And then they said you probably could have done about 1,000 that weekend.
Yeah.
So to see that, but to know how much hard work you put into it.
Yeah.
Like, and there's more, you know me, like now I'm starting stuff from the Comedy Cellar. You know, I want to do podcasts from the Comedy Cellar. Like it's just, I love it so much. I want to be surrounded.
I can't hang out with you too much because you make me feel lazy. So I'm just like, I don't want to. So you got here in your studio. Yeah, look at this.
So I wanna get into
expensive.
This one?
Yeah. It looks expensive. I love sneakers,
dude.
I just don't know all.
This you've never. So this one, I don't think it's expensive, but when it came out, it was hot. I don't even know what it's called.
It's cool.
But this is what's cool about it. You can take these off and switch the colors. They send you like 3 or 4 different colors.
Yeah, that's the one that caught my eye behind you. Yeah. I mean, I love Jordans. That's my,
And behind you, right there, I wear those on Miami Hurricane games.
Those
are the ones.
You wear these specific ones?
I only wear those when
like a magic eraser you clean it with or something like.
No, they stay right there.
Okay.
They stay right there. And hold on, let me put the camera on 3. They stay right there. Those Miami So I only wear them on Saturdays, the days they play, and then they go right back up there. But I have tons of them. Yeah, man.
I've got boxes that
we talked about that.
That's a problem.
Now we got to wrap this up soon.
Oh, sorry.
Because you were late.
I know. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
How'd you go from a marine biologist